WhangareiTim.
Kia ora, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Prime Minister. Does he stand by his government statements and actions?
Chloe Swarbrick.
To the Prime Minister, does he stand by all of his government statements and actions?
With the Right Honourable Chris Hipkins.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Prime Minister, does he stand by all of his government statements and actions?
Yes, and especially our action to shift money out of the back office and the bureaucracy and into the front line. After the size of the public service surged in recent years, we're getting money into the areas where it can make a big difference. Things like structured literacy, permanent funding for Farm Act drugs, and big investments in law and order to keep our streets and our people safe. After years of financial mismanagement, we know good governments can invest in the front line, support families with the cost of living, and they can get spending back under control. We're not planning to sell off 10,000 state houses because your government, that member's government, borrowed $10 billion more and loaded that up on KO. And they quadrupled the social house wait list, and they had more children growing up in motels. So we're going to solve the problem. We're going to fix KO. It's a badly run organisation. We're going to fix it. What I can tell you is the government that I am leading, this coalition government, is incredibly focused on making sure we expand social housing in New Zealand. We have a supply problem created by that member and his former government, and we're not loading up $10 billion on KO in 6 years. We're not quadrupling the wait list, and we're not putting kids into motels. We're going to solve the problem that he created. Well, I'm also going to say to you, what we are ruling out is actually a board that has mismanaged Kāinga Ora, a minister that mismanaged Kāinga Ora. We are going to fix it. How on earth do you have a board that doesn't even have a statement of financial control, a financial statement? How do you actually have a board that just accepts the government's going to tip $10 billion and load $10 billion of debt up on KO, making it not financially sustainable, leading to a sell-off as that previous government planned of 10,200 state houses? We want to see more social houses available in New Zealand. We want to see more state houses built, and we want to see more community housing providers build more houses as well. But the first thing but rather than putting good money after bad, we're going to take stock of the KO organisation, make sure that it actually has a board refresh, make sure it has a turnaround plan in place by November, and make sure it gets on a financially sustainable footing. That is the first job that we have to do to clean up the mess that member and his government left us.
Does he agree with his own government that no-cause evictions and the return of interest deductibility are pro-renter policies? And if so, can he explain why not a single renters advocacy group agrees that these policies are pro-renter?
I don't know how to explain this to the member, but we have a housing crisis in New Zealand, and this government's going to do something about it. And we are very clear about it. We have a supply problem. We have a supply problem in we're not building enough houses. We have a supply problem because we're not renting enough houses and not enough in the rental market. And we have a supply problem in the social housing market. Removing interest deductibility, bringing back the Bright Line test, and balancing the tenancy laws between landlords and tenants are things that will make it easier for people to get rental properties. I actually think taking the housing crisis seriously is something that I would expect that member to do. I would expect that member, if he cared actually about people who are in homeless situations, he cares about people who can't get access to rental properties, if he cared about people who are in emergency housing and the 3,000 kids that woke up in motels today, he'd actually want to do something about increasing the supply of houses available to rent and houses available in social housing.
The Right Honourable Winston.
Can I ask the Prime Minister, when he experiences those sort of nasty allegations in the House, does he not sort of think of Michael Cullen and his famous quote, "We won, you lost, eat that"?
Auckland Council have identified 5 lead indicators that his government has direct control over, including the return of no-cause evictions, which are likely to increase homelessness in our largest city.
Having loaded KO up with billions of dollars in debt and wasted time on broken policies like Kiwi Build, rents have soared, social housing wait lists exploded, and we have more children in motels on their watch. We're taking action to fix Kāinga Ora, we're holding unruly tenants to account, and we're cutting red tape so we can deliver much more housing. There is a range of actions that we've undertaken, restoring interest deductibility, removing the Bright Line test back to 2 years, and importantly getting the balance right between tenancy laws between landlords and tenants.
Can he guarantee no one will be made homeless by his government's decision to reinstate no-cause evictions?
Well, what I can guarantee is that we are working incredibly hard to make sure that we avoid homelessness in this country. Part of that process is making sure we increase the supply of rental properties so that people can actually access and rent a house. That is why we're very committed to making sure we increase the supply of rental properties in New Zealand.
Can he guarantee that no one will be made homeless by his government's directive on tenant behaviour that Auckland Council says means that they are, quote, expecting kia ora evictions?
Well, what is important is we are getting the balance right in our tenancy laws so that we encourage landlords to put more houses up and make them available to more tenants so we avoid homelessness.
Is the Prime Minister unwilling or unable to say that his government's policies will increase homelessness in this country?
What I am willing to say is that we have a housing crisis in New Zealand, and unlike the Labour and the Green government that did nothing about it and outcomes got a lot worse, we are working each and every aspect to increase the supply of houses available to rent, and social housing supply as well. I am very proud that our government is actually going to tackle the housing crisis we have in this country and homelessness. And I would love that member to come in and support our efforts, because what we're doing is actually, by unwinding interest deductibility, we're making a lot more houses available for renters. We're putting downward pressure on rents, and I encourage the member to join us and pass that legislation.